All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, giving double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in his truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's your brother Radah out of the GMS Atlanta camp, coming back with another lesson. I saw this article and, hey, man, it just goes to show you that, the hatred, that Esau Edom, so-called white man, has for the 12 tribes of Israel, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. It says black man who was executed in Texas 70 years ago is cleared in case marked with racial bias. What benefit is this, man? 70 years later, you prove the man to be innocent. He's dead. You executed the man, It says Tommy Lee Walker was executed in the electric chair in May 1956 for the rape and murder of 31-year-old Venice Parker. And, you already know what she looked like, man. So-called white woman, And 9 times out of 10, some sick, twisted, demented Edomite, raped and killed this woman, But out of the hatred, that this man has for, Jacob, the tribes, he rather pin it on a black man just to kill a so-called black man. They probably knew exactly who did it, but they rather, take this opportunity to kill a so-called black man. Probably somebody from the sheriff department, somebody from a high-ranking official in town, or somebody that had a crush on her and she turned them down. We know how the story goes, man. But they just found a Jake depending on, man. So it says this photo provided by the Dallas History of Archives Division. Dallas Public Library shows Tommy Lee Walker, a black man from Texas who was executed by the electric chair 1956 for the rape and murder of 31-year-old Venice Parker, a white woman. We seen this story all too often, man. And we see this innocent Jake, man. Life was cut short all because of a lie, And hey, we seen this time and time again, man. This man hates you, and especially when it comes to his woman. But at this point in time, man, it's all kind of stories, article, videos going out that this man woman actually hates him. She fantasizes about Jake, man. Probably, when they doing their thing, man. She probably got a vision of some Jake that she worked with in her head. That's just the reality of it, man. First and foremost, we're the chosen people. It's all, hey, we're the smartest, we're the most athletic. Look at the circumstances that we've been placed under, and look where we are. Brutally killed, deprived of education, deprived of food, nutrients, and we still here, man. That lets you know that the Lord is with us, man. So let's get a quick scripture, and then we're going to continue on the article. But, this is what you people fail to realize, man. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 8. You people fail to realize that, man. If you've got comfortable here in Babylon the Great, a.k.a. America, but we're headed back to these times, man, to where if they accuse you of something, they got the right to just murder you, man. We're headed back to those times. We're headed back to times of the great humbling, man, by way of Jacob's trouble. And you 2/3 out there, man, 2/3 wicked of our people, you won't make it, because you don't have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You don't have, the capability of understanding the book of Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6. You don't have the understanding to be able to survive in the times to come. You know, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, man. So this is the book of Baruch chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity. You know, and this goes back to the curses, man. You know, all throughout the curses, it said this man will, slay you. You have to go to him for the want of all things. He's going to overcome you. You're going to be on the bottom. He's going to be on the top. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquity of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So we've been placed here for punishment, and that Jake being innocently, or, nobody's innocent, but, to be accused of something in that particular instance, he's innocent, that particular incident, but to be accused of something and executed for it, and you didn't do it, that's wicked, man. But that just goes to show you the hatred that these people have for us, man. So let's go back to this article. And you looking at a Jake that didn't do nothing, man. She just she didn't make it, but, some so-called white man pinned it on him. And this is Houston. It says nearly 70 years ago, a Texas black man was executed in a case that prosecutors now say was based on false evidence and was riddled with racial bias. Officials have declared that he was innocent in the killing of a white woman in Dallas. And it says he was executed. I don't know if it's going to show her picture or not. But it says at the time of the trial, prosecutors had alleged Walker attacked Parker, a store clerk who was on her way home on the evening of September 30th, 1953. Parker's killing took place during a time of panic and racial division in the Dallas area, whereas there were reports of a peeping Tom believed to be a black man was terrorizing women. Yeah. See, they always want to use that, man. A peeping Tom terrorizing white women, Man, Jake ain't got time to be peeping in no window, man. He trying to survive. Probably some sick Edomite, man. That's some Edomite stuff, man. It says, according to the Dallas County Criminal District Attorney Office, it says, but an extensive review of Walker's conviction by the Dallas County Criminal District Attorney's Office, along with the help of the Innocent Project of New York and Northwestern University School of Law, Civil Rights, man, get to the point. Says the review found problems with statements from a Dallas police officer who claimed that that particular police officer probably committed that murder, man. Said the review found problems in the statement from a Dallas police officer who claimed that Parker had identified her attacker as a black man. First of all, if she was murdered, how could she identify the attacker as a black man? It says, but multiple witnesses denied that Parker did anything outside of convulse and hemorrhage exorbitant amount of blood after being attacked. See, yeah, he probably did it. It says Dallas County District Attorney John said during a Wednesday. Let's see, I want to see more details on what happened. It says during the next few months after Parker's killing, hundreds of black men were rounded up by authorities, and 4 months later, Walker, then 19 years old, was arrested. So how you pick him out of hundreds of people, man? Hundreds of black men rounded up. It's just an all-out assault on Jake, man. But we're headed back to those times again. We are headed back to those times again. You know, we're headed to the times of being persecuted for doing nothing. You know, and now they taking out so-called white women. So you know Jake don't stand a chance. So let's go to the book of Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5. It says, whose oppressors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they sell them and say, blessed be the Lord Yahweh, for I am rich. And their own shepherds pity them not. You know, but these devils, you know, they have no clue of who the true power is, man. Let's see what the NLT says. It says, the buyers, it says, whose possessors slay them, you know, that Jake was slayed and were possessed by these Edomites, and hold themselves not guilty, man. You know, nobody got punished or persecuted for that crime. Nobody got locked up for that crime. You know, they just executed Jake off the rip and called it a day. Let's see. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 58. And in verse 3, it says, the wicked is estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they, Salaki, it says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born speaking lies. You know, and that police officer, that particular police officer spoke lies. He said, you know, before she died, she said it was a black man that did it. A total lie. Total lie, man. Let's see. It says Walker was subjected to threatening and coercive interrogation tactics by Will Fritz, a Dallas police captain who had been a member of the Ku Klux Klan. It says Walker later testified he confessed to the killing because he was afraid for his life, and they killed him anyway. So, you know, says at his trial, Walker's lawyers presented 10 witnesses who testified that at the time of the murder, they were with Walker and his girlfriend when she gave birth to their son. That's amazing, man. Edward Lee Smith at a local hospital, according to the Innocence Project. But this carried little weight in the Jim Crow Dallas. The Innocence Project said, man, this is just all out murder, man. It says Walker was convicted by an all-white jury in 1954. So Jake had just had a baby. Hey, man. Hey, you know what? You know, hey, man, when these people start to be judged out here, you know, don't show no pity for these people, man. Don't show no mercy for these people. You know, once Yahweh Shem Yahushua start pouring out judgment upon the 2/3 and these other nations, man, do not pity these people, man. These you have to understand who your enemy is. You have to understand the deep hatred that these people have for you. You know, it's been toned down lately, you know, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you know, had to let the word come out, had to let the prophets hit the highways and hedges for this word to come out and this truth to spread. But we're about to come into a time where that's about to be out the window, man. So when the Lord starts judging these people, do not show these people no mercy, man. Do not feel sorry for these people, man. You know, I think even let me see. I think it was Jeremiah that said that. Let me see. Man, lift not up. Let's see. Might have been, was it Isaiah? Yeah, Jeremiah. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 11 and verse 14. It says, therefore, pray not for Salaki. Says, therefore, pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry, nor prayer for them. For I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me. for their trouble. And hey, this applies to Jake, but you still have people out here that want to save Esau, Edom, forgetting the atrocities that this man has brought upon you and your people, man. So, hey, man, hey, bring it on, man. Bring on the brutality. Bring on, hey, won't you people stand up for your rights being taken, man? The government is stripping your rights, and you just sitting back letting it happen, man. So, just get it popping, man. Whatever you got to do, fight for your rights, man. So we'll see, what happens when the Lord start pouring out judgment upon these people, man. Your ancestors, your ancestors will be highly upset with you for letting your rights be stripped away in front of your faces, man. Where's that Edomite spirit at? Where's that Edomite spirit to hold on to what you got? You Edomites are soft, man. But hey, man, this just burns you up, man. It says during an emotional moment at Wednesday's meeting, Smith Walker's now 72-year-old son and the victim's son, Joseph Parker, hugged each other. See, there we go. Going off again. Says, I'm so sorry for what happened, Parker told Smith. But at the same time, all through these years, he probably been hating, the so-called black man, especially the so-called black man that was executed. So, man, we can't wait till this kingdom fall, because it was built on wickedness. We just sitting back patiently waiting, man. Patiently waiting. We know it's going to be a whole lot of carnage, brought forth by the Lord. But Lord willing, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, keep the elect safe out there, man. Let's go to the book of Amos, chapter 1. And we'll go to verse 11. Let's get this in the NLT. It says, this is what the Lord Yahweh says. The people of Edom have sinned again and again, and I will not let them go unpunished. So your punishment is coming, man. For everything you've done to the children of Israel, you got to pay for it. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob is why you're going to have to pay, man. Says they chased down their relatives, the Israelites, with the sword, killed that innocent Jake, showing them no mercy. And in this case, no mercy was shown. It says, in their rage, they slashed them continually and were unrelenting in their anger. So that hatred run deep, and we see it, man. So, Lord willing, Yahweh Shem Yahushua start pouring mass judgment out upon these people, man. You got to pay for what you done, man. You're not getting away with it. So, Lord willing, it was edifying. We want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.